Good evening and welcome to Gunner Shot. Today I'm going to talk to you about social unrest in China. A few days back, I had done a video on mass bike riding and knife attacks, all that. After that, I read a little more about what's happening in China. And then certain things came to light and certain other things even happened. And I connected it with many more issues. And then a story unfolded. Let me tell you at the outset, social unrest in China is increasing for many factors. We've discussed that often. What I'm going to do is today just chronicle it and put it across to you with the basic factors and how probably they are interconnected. All of you are intelligent enough to understand what's happening. Right. Uh, Social unrest in China was really not heard of for a long time, right? And the first time this happened was during the COVID period when bank protests started in, Henan, and it spread to a lot of cities in China. Almost 30 cities were affected. People went to banks and they were not given their money, and then the protest broke. This is just one of them. And if you notice, uh, China responded pretty harshly. They brought down tanks also on the street where the bankers were, where the people were protesting. And for one sudden moment, that whole thing vanished. Well, having said that, what happened? Next was the white paper protests in December 22. Right. This is a short clip which will give you, and this white paper protest led to all COVID restrictions being lifted. The third protest, which actually I think started the real social, showed the underlying social unrest in China, were the pension protests which took place in 23. Now, what happened then? At that point of time, pensioners were denied their life insurance. Their life insurance, or rather their pension insurance funds were cut down, entitlements were cut down, and they took to the streets. And this was also pretty severe. Just a small excerpt of that. And you find that people are pretty angry about the whole affair, right? And they were somehow China managed to control it. But after that, 23 Jan Feb, these were also a series of protests all over across China. Nothing happened. Nothing happened, and no one knew about social unrest. But we know there were a lot of issues like Tangping, Bailang, all those movements had started. The economic conditions of China had started going down. And that was when I made that other video, it out of the spur of the moment. And then I went into it in a little more detail. Then I, very funnily, I went into Chat GPT. I said, let me see social unrest in China. I typed, and this is what I got. So what it lays down, it says China has been experiencing a rise in social unrest, uh, driven by economic and social factors. They list out a whole lot of them. They're talking of economic crisis, violent crimes which are taking place, youth unemployment, which in the last video I had not touched upon, housing market issues, right? And in fact, very funnily, the Chat GPT gives very logical and cogent answers. It says, look, housing market issues. The stagnation of housing prices has left many unable to afford homes, adding to the sense of disillusionment. And then social movements like Tangping and Bailan and all that. So fine, that's there. It's happening in China. Everyone knows it. But suddenly now you see an eruption of issues taking place. So I thought, let me put it across and connect a few more dots, right? And see what's happening there. Look, this is the graph for the factory gate inflation in China. That is the prices at the factory. At what, right? And if you see this, this whole thing is in the negative. Okay, let me get to a pointer and I'll explain, show you the pointer. Yeah, if you see this is the latest thing and it's gone down at one point of time. In 21, things had recovered, 22 had gone down, and then it recovered a bit more towards the beginning of the year. People thought it'll this thing, but it's gone down. So the inflation at the factory has gone down, means the prices have fallen at the factory, wholesale prices, which means that the margins for those people who are running factories have gone down. So lesser pay and and wages and layoffs, unemployment, right? And then add to that that the youth joblessness is now more than 17%. That is official. Okay. After all, every year about 10 to 12 million graduates are coming in for the work stream, and they are 17% overall are unemployed. Plus, people have lost their jobs. People are going through, you know, pay cuts. And this graph which I showed is pretty latest, October, end October. Okay, quarter ending October. Okay, so that is there. Then you look at the graph. You see, this is the time when the unemployment was at 21%. It had, and then China had withdrawn this. And then they suddenly said, no, no, unemployment is only 15%. Now from 15%, it went down further. And then it went up and now it's gone back. It's 17%. Actually, if you look at it, and that's what, and the metrics, we don't know how it came down to so much. Corrected figures. Okay. Here it is 21%, and here it is just about 15%. So that's 16% down, right? Here it is 17%. So from 15 to it's gone to 17%, right? That means what? This has to be added here really, which means about 25 to 30% of Chinese youth are unemployed, educated youth. So that will give rise to social tension. And that did give rise to people sitting at home, becoming full-time children, tangping, bailan, people taking breaks, right? All those started. And that will naturally give to unrest, without doubt. Okay. We all know that there are not people enough getting married, people are not giving children and all. Children and all, you leave it out for one moment. Birth rate and, but you look at it, the overall marriages and divorces have also gone down. Okay. So why do these go down? And both, I mean, one goes down and one goes up because of unrest. People are not happy with their own social conditions, so they go in for more divorces. In fact, this year they say that China will have the maximum number of divorces, yes, so, maximum number of divorces, and the minimum number of marriages over a period of time. And we'll talk of it when I talk about the demographics of China. Okay. If this was not enough, all these were factors. But where's the eruption which is going to come? The eruption came when just about 2 weeks back in Zhuhai, when the air show was going on, a 62-year-old man drives into a crowd and kills 35 people and 43 are injured. Okay, now the two fallouts. 62-year-old man, he's got no pension. He wants to have a divorce with his wife. Just imagine. And he's very mixed up. So he goes into the crowd. Fine. So there's a memorial laid, or people have started giving flowers and all. So China stopped that also. They said, "Okay, bhai, यहाँ तो इमारत खड़ा हो जाएगा," and that will become a source of protest. So they have got that removed. They stopped for 2 3 days. People came, kept flowers, but kept placards and all. Third day, the police cracked down. Okay, and then knife attacks. Immediately after that, there was a knife attack. But when I went into it, I saw just in 24. It happened in February. It happened in July. It happened in September, October 2 3. Okay, just after that Zhuhai air attack, I mean, not that vehicle attack, 8 die in Wuxi. Why? This fellow is a 21-year-old boy, right, who has failed in his exams. He was angry that the pay he received was low as an intern in a factory. He was an intern, and he also tried to attempt suicide. And he was also angry about the factory people exploiting the workforce. Same thing which I told earlier. Factory gate inflation has gone down. People are not being paid less. So violence is coming out. You see the link. You can keep things tight for a long time. For a long time. After all, communist China, you can do anything you want. But at some point of time, it will burst. So these are the initial, like they say in elections, pehle rujan. Okay. Indications. Early, and in battle, you say early indications. These are the early indications. Okay. Then, 2 days back, students were injured because one chap went and rammed into children. Just outside a primary school. He got into an argument with a girl, I mean, one lady. He bagged and bash. There are issues. The full story will never come out. Now, these are just incidents which have come out in news for whatever reason, or which couldn't be controlled. How many issues of this nature would be there which is going on? It's a closed society. Okay. So there is a problem, and we don't, I mean, you can't wish it away. Okay. Now, one of the first things that indications again, where the Chinese are showing that they're worried, is that migrant workers. There are about 6 million migrant workers. Who are migrant workers? People who come from the villages and far away, Tibet, Mongolia, and all. They come and work in cities and go back. They are not part of the city. They have a huku system. Huku system is you get social benefits. You get social benefits in China in only those places where you're born and registered and all that. You can't go outside. So all these chaps who go outside and work elsewhere are illegal, and they're migrant workers. But they make up the main force. Now, a lot of these migrant workers were not being paid. Okay, there were rumblings. Now, suddenly they're being paid. The government is telling people pay. But where will the factory guys pay? Where will the firms pay from? Where will those organizations or establishments which are hiring these chaps get money from? They don't have. You've seen that factory gate inflation. So there is a problem there. We don't know the exact extent of the problem. The fact that this has come out in China indicates that there is a problem, and that the problem is major. Okay, in India, these things happen every second day. You can see a protest in almost every city going on simultaneously. Right, whether it's in North India, South India, East India, or wherever. But not there. Here, everything gets this thing. Then this is major. You see, this biking thing which started, 4 children went from place A to place B in July to buy soup and drink. It became a craze over the internet. Then people started going, right? That I did show you also. So initially, everything was hunky dory and all that, and people said this is the way to do. People are taking photos, people are cheering them, people are giving snacks and food, water and food, all that shelter for people to rest. All that was being done. Okay, it went to the extent that the people's daily gave a lot of publicity. They said when so many people come together as one, it's a matter of community and all that. Okay, then the crowds increased. Crowds increased so much that they can control it. And this is when China spooked. Okay, the Chinese authorities spooked. They said, "Yeah, we can't afford this. If this turns, Tiananmen Square, it happened with the students' protest. If this happens, so many people, a lakh people traveling from 40 kilometers every night, from over 40, 50 kilometers, is dangerous. When you don't know what will happen." So Chinese people clamped down on this entire thing. And what did they do? They didn't allow these, mostly they were students, they didn't allow the students to go on night out pass. They started having curfew for them. Anyone who was going out without telling, they were being rusticated by Garjao. Then bike companies were not allowed to give bikes, and this stopped. They worried. So all these things are happening. Slowly, you connect all these issues, you know that there is something seething underneath. Okay. And then you look at this, where people have been deported, right? This is the third group of people who have been deported from, uh, USA, illegal immigrants. Illegal immigrants in the past 1 year to China have been the maximum. Maximum. Okay. And why would people go? People go from here also. People go from many places. But why are they running away from China? Because the conditions in China are bad. And yet we think China is a superpower, right? I mean, this is something which is incongruent the way we think. We think China is a superpower when there are problems in China. There are huge problems in China. Such problems are not there anywhere else. Americans don't run to China. Indians don't run to China, right? Taiwanese don't run to China. But Chinese run to USA. There's something missing, no, in this country. Okay. Then I saw this interesting article. It says China's stimulus debate reignites questions of who gets what and how. So there is a thing as to why you do stimulus, who will get what. Okay, that's okay, different. Let them decide who's to get what and sort out the stimulus and all. But a few things caught my mind, caught my eye in the when I read this. What is this? In this, it is written, according to a report published late last year by China's top economic planner, the National Development and Reform Commission. And mind you, all this is from Chinese source, please. Right? 964 million people in China lived off a monthly income of 2000 yuan. That's it. So this middle income trap and all this nonsense, that well off and happy life, is all bunk. You look at it, 964 million live off a monthly income of 2000 yen, that is $249. In a year, how much is this? 250? 250 into 12, kitna hota hai? 3000. And actually, that value is less because the renminbi is linked to the dollar. We say we are a poor country with our per capita income is how much? 2,200 or $300 at this point of time. And here, 964 million. 964 million live on just $250 a month or $3,000. And that is 70%. So 70% of China lives at the same level of India. ताजुब हो रहा है ना भाई। एक एक झूठ को एक दिन छुपा सकते हो, 2 दिन छुपा सकते हो, 3 दिन छुपा सकते हो, जिंदगी भर थोड़ी ना छुपा सकते हो। समवेयर इट विल कम आउट। ओके, राइट। एंड दे से increasing consumption by short term stimulus is a quick fix. We know it. It's like giving a injection. अभी इंजेक्शन दे दो, मरीज ठीक हो जाएगा, दोबारा गिर जाएगा। This is there's support required for the unemployed. There's issues of extending social security coverage to workers, gradually raising social security standards for rural residents. No one is talking of that. Last one. Urban unemployment reached 470 million in 23. Okay, urban employment. So 470 million were employed in urban areas, in which only 240 million were covered by unemployment insurance. So more than half of the people who are working don't have any form of insurance in China. And which middle income are you talking of? Other half are unprotected. What about medical bills? It's very costly. What about housing? Very costly. What about migrant people? They are to gaya kaam se. So there are a lot of issues like this which are now coming out. Slowly, if you keep tracking, I mean, let me be very honest. I've been doing this for quite some time, as you all know, for the past 2 years. Every day I take out a video ever since I've started Gunner Shot from on China or one thing or the other. But this kind of a thing is just coming out the first time. So things are getting bad. Okay. And of course, I did say last year they allowed Halloween to go on and showing that as if it's a sign of cultural tolerance and all. This year it's been packed up. No, no Halloween, nothing. Right? So why? They're worried. Now, people going with masks, at night for a week. Halloween goes on for some time to each other's houses. That social interaction, all that is a problem in China, right? And so, okay, so there is a issue. They're worried. They're scared. Here is a government which is scared of its people, and increasingly so. Soon will repression start of its own people. It's a matter of time. The day the social contract starts failing, I think it's already started failing, but it goes beyond a threshold of you give me your liberty and I will give you, security and happiness and all that. The day that social contract gets frayed or broken, China will go into a tailspin. I'm very sure of that. It's a natural thing. Is it there? I don't know. Be very honest. Is it there? But it is reaching. Is it heading towards that direction? Definitely. Definitely, it's heading towards that direction. Recently I got a message from one of my friends, a senior officer, who had worked for a company which was, which is a joint holding of some China guys, some Taiwanese, and American. It had offices in India, and he used to be friendly with a few Chinese then. Oh, recently he met them somewhere, and he asked them, and they told him, business people, they have to go and do their business. So they confided in him, look, things are bad. Our business is not going well. We are struggling. And Mr. Xi Jinping is day by day getting more unpopular. But he's got the power of the Communist Party, and he's hiked up nationalism. And there are enough people in China who are nationalistic. And he's raised the nationalist uh, ideas and running. But there's danger around the corner. And I leave it at that. Get back. We'll now touch more issues of China as usual. Till then, good evening and Jai Hind.